Hi, I'm Jonathan, and I'm going to be your tutor for today. And yeah, let's start reading.
Do we end at 7?
We end at 7:15, starting from now. So we have another 15 minutes, and we get to just talk about this book. Okay. Okay, I guess I'm going to start reading for the first around 15 minutes, and we'll see from here. Okay. Okay, a pair of goblins bowed them through the silver doors, and they were in a vast marble hall. About 100 more goblins were sitting on high stools behind a long counter, scribbling in large ledgers, weighing coins in brass scales, examining precious stones through eyeglasses. There were too many doors to count leading off the hall, and yet more goblins were showing people in and out of these. Hagrid and Harry, Michael, hi. Okay, Michael, we just started a little bit, I think we're right about here, okay? So yeah, you can read along silently if you want. Okay, there were too many doors to count leading off the hall, and yet more goblins were showing people in and out of these. Hagrid and Harry made for the counter. Morning, said Hagrid.
Was it?
What chapter? I don't really know, let's see. Oh. What chapter? Chapter 5, and it's called Diagon Alley. I don't really know how to say that. And it should be page 45. Okay, I'll continue. Morning, said Hagrid to a free goblin. We've come to take some money out of Mr. Harry Potter's safe. You have his key, sir? Got it here somewhere, said Hagrid, and he started emptying his pockets onto the counter, scattering a handful of moldy dog biscuits over the goblin's book of numbers. The goblin wrinkled his nose. Harry watched the goblin on their right weighing a pile of rubies as big as glowing coals. Got it, said Hagrid at last, holding a tiny golden key. The goblin looked at it closely. That seems to be an order. And I've also got a letter here from Professor Dumbledore, said Hagrid importantly, throwing out his chest. It's about the you-know-what in Vault 713. The goblin read the letter carefully. Very well, he said, handing it back to Hagrid. I'll have someone take you down to both vaults. Griphook. Griphook was yet another goblin. Once Hagrid had crammed all the dog biscuits back inside his pockets, he and Harry followed Griphook towards one of the doors leading off the hall. What's the you-know-what in Vault 713? Harry asked. Can't tell you that, said Hagrid mysteriously. Very secret. Hogwarts business. Dumbledore's trusted me. More than my job's worth to tell you that. Griphook held the door open for them. Harry, who had expected more marble, was surprised. They were in a narrow stone passageway lit with flaming torches. It sloped steeply downward, and there were little railway tracks on the floor. Griphook whistled, and a small car came hurtling up the tracks towards them. They climbed in, Hagrid with some difficulty, and were off. At first, they just hurtled through a maze of twisting passages. Harry tried to remember left, right, left, middle fork, right, left, but it was impossible. The rattling cart seemed to know its own way because Griphook wasn't steering. Harry's eyes stung as the cold air rushed past them, but he kept them wide open. Once, he thought he saw a burst of fire at the end of the passage and twisted around to see if it was a dragon. But too late. They plunged even deeper, passing an underground lake where huge stalactites and stalagmites grew from the ceiling and floor. I never know, Harry called to Hagrid over the noise of the cart. What's the difference between a stalagmite and a stalactite? Stalagmite's got an M in it, said Hagrid. And don't ask me questions just now. I think I'm going to be sick. He didn't look very green, and when the cart stopped at last beside a small door in the passing hall, Hagrid got out and had to lean against the wall to stop his knees from trembling. Griphook unlocked the door. A lot of green smoke came billowing out, and as it cleared, Harry gasped. Inside were mounds of golden coins, or gold coins, columns of silver, heaps of little bronze nuts. All yours, smiled Hagrid. All Harry's. It was incredible. The Dursleys couldn't have known about this, or they'd have had it from him faster than blinking. How often had they complained how much Harry cost them to keep? And all the time there had been a small fortune belonging to him, buried deep under London. Hagrid helped Harry pile some of it into a bag. The gold coins are galleons, he explained. 17 silver sickles to a galleon and 29 nuts to a sickle. It's easy enough. Right, that should be enough for a couple of terms. We'll keep the rest safe for you. He turned to Griphook. Vault 713 now, please. Can we go more slowly? One speed only, said Griphook. They were going even deeper now and gathering speed. The air became colder and colder as they hurtled round tight corners. They went rattling over an underground ravine, and Harry leaned over the side to try to see what was down at the dark bottom. But Hagrid groaned and pulled him back at the scruff of his neck, or by the scruff of his neck. Vault 713 had no keyhole. Stand back, said Griphook importantly. He stroked the door gently with one of his long fingers, and it simply melted away. If anyone but a Gringotts goblin tried that, they'd be sucked through the door and trapped in there, said Griphook. How often do you check to see if anyone's inside? Harry asked. About once every 10 years, said Griphook with a rather nasty grin. Something really extraordinary had to be inside this top security vault. Harry was sure, and he leaned forward eagerly, expecting to see fabulous jewels at the very least. But at first, he thought it was empty. Then he noticed a grubby little package wrapped up in brown paper lying on the floor. Hagrid picked it up and tucked it deep inside his coat. Harry longed to know what it was, but knew better than to ask. Come on, back in this infernal cart, and don't talk to me on the way back. It's best if I keep me mouth shut, said Hagrid. One wild cart ride later, they stood blinking in the sunlight outside Gringotts. Harry didn't know where to run first now that he had a bag full of money. He didn't have to know how many galleons there were to a pound to know that he was holding more money than he had in his whole life. More money than even Dudley ever had. Might as well get your uniform, said Hagrid, nodding toward Madame Malkin's robes for all occasions. Listen, Harry, would you mind if I slipped off for a pick-me-up in the leaky cauldron? I hate them Gringotts carts. He did still look a bit sick, so Harry entered Madame Malkin's shop alone, feeling nervous. Madame Malkin was a squat, smiling witch dressed in all mauve. Hogwarts, clear? She said when Harry started to speak. Got the lot here, another young man being fitted up just now, in fact. In the back of the shop, a boy with a pale, pointed face was standing on a footstool while a second witch pinned up his long black robes. Madame Malkin stood Harry on a stool next to him, slipped a long robe over his head, and began to pin it to the right length. Hello, said the boy. Hogwarts too? Yes, said Harry. My father's next door buying my books and mother's up this street looking at wands, said the boy. He had a bored, drawling face. Then I'm going to drag him off to took at racing brooms. I don't see why first years can't have their own. I think I'll bully father into giving me one, and I'll smuggle it in somehow. Harry was strongly reminded of Dudley. Have you got your own broom? The boy went on. No, said Harry. Play Quidditch at all? No, Harry said, wondering what on earth Quidditch could be. I do. Father says it's a crime if I'm not picked to play for my house, and I must say I agree. Know what house you'll be in yet? No, said Harry, feeling more stupid by the minute. Well, no one really knows until they get there, do they? But I know I'll be in Slytherin. our family have been. Imagine being in Hufflepuff. I think I'd leave, wouldn't you? Said Harry, wishing he could say something a bit more interesting. I say, look at that man, said the boy suddenly. Nodding toward the front window, Hagrid was standing there, grinning at Harry and pointing at two large ice creams to show he couldn't come in. That's Hagrid, said Harry, pleased to know something the boy didn't. He works at Hogwarts. Oh, said the boy, I've heard of him. He's sort of a servant, isn't he? He's the gamekeeper, said Harry. He was liking the boy less and less every second. Yes, exactly. I heard he's sort of savage, lives in a hut on the school grounds, and every now and then he gets drunk, tries to do magic, and ends up setting fire to his bed. I think he's brilliant, said Harry coldly. Do you? Said the boy with a slight sneer. Why is he with you? Where are your parents? They're dead, said Harry shortly. He didn't feel much like going into the matter with this boy. Oh, sorry, said the other, not sounding very sorry at all. But they were our kind, weren't they? They were a witch and a wizard, if that's what you mean. I really don't think they should let the other sort in, do you? They're, they're just not the same. They've never been brought up to know our ways. Some of them have heard, never even heard of Hogwarts until they get the letter, imagine. I think they should keep it in the old wizarding families. What's your surname, anyway? But before Harry could answer, Madame Malkin said, That's you done, my dear. And Harry, not sorry for an excuse to stop talking to the boy, hopped down from the footstool. Well, I'll see you at Hogwarts, I suppose, said the drawling boy. Harry was rather quiet as he ate the ice cream Hagrid had bought him, chocolate and raspberry with chopped nuts. What's up? Said Hagrid. Nothing, Harry lied. They stopped to buy parchment and quills. Harry cheered up a bit when he found a bottle of ink that changed color as you wrote. When they had left the shop, he said, Hagrid, what's Quidditch? Blimey, Harry, I keep forgetting how little you know, not knowing about Quidditch. Don't make me feel worse, said Harry. He told Hagrid about the hate boy in Madame Malkin's. And he said people from Muggle families shouldn't even be allowed in. You're not from a Muggle family. If he'd known who you were, he's grown up knowing your name if his parents are wizarding folk. You saw what everyone in the Leafy Cauldron was like when they saw you. Anyway, what does he know about it? Some of the best I ever saw were the only ones with magic in them, in a long line of muggles. Look at your mom. Look at what she had for a sister. So what's a Quidditch? So what is Quidditch? It's our sport, wizard sport. It's like soccer in the muggle world. Everyone follows Quidditch. Played up in the air on broomsticks, and there's 4 balls. Sort of hard to explain the rules. And what are Slytherin and Hufflepuff? Schoolhouses, there's 4. Everyone says Hufflepuff are a lot of duffers, but I bet I'm in Hufflepuff, said Harry gloomily. Better Hufflepuff than Slytherin, said Hagrid darkly. There's not a single witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin. You know who was one. Well, sorry, you know who was at Hogwarts? Years and years ago, said Hagrid, they bought Harry's school books in a shop called Flourish and Blots, where the shelves were stacked to the ceiling with books as large as paving stones bound in leather, books the size of postage stamps in covers of silk, books full of peculiar symbols, and a few books with nothing in them at all. Even Dudley, who never read anything, would have been wild to get his hand on some of these. Hagrid almost had to drag Harry away from curses and counter curses, bewitch your friends, and befuddle your enemies with the largest or latest revenges. Hair loss, jelly legs, tongue tying, and much, much more by Professor Vindicus Viridian. I was trying to find out how to curse Dudley. I'm not saying that's not a good idea, but you're not to use magic in the Muggle world except in very special circumstances, said Hagrid. And anyway, you couldn't work any of them curses yet. You'll need a lot more study before you can get to that level. Hagrid wouldn't let Harry buy a solid gold cauldron either. It says pewter on your list. But they got a nice set of scales for weighing potion ingredients and collapsible brass telescope. Then they visited the apothecary, which was fascinating enough to make up for its horrible smell, a mixture of bad eggs and rotten cabbages. Barrels of slimy stuff stood on the floor. Jars of herbs, dried roots, and bright powders lined the walls. Bundles of feathers, strings of fangs, and snarled claws hung from the ceiling. While Hagrid asked the man behind the counter for a supply of some basic potion ingredients for Harry, Harry himself examined a silver unicorn horns at 21 galleons each and minuscule, glittery black beetle eyes, 5 nuts a scoop. Okay, we're gonna take a little short break here. I'm just gonna go ahead and summarize a bit of what we just read. Okay, so basically, Harry and Hagrid went to visit a bank, and Harry got a little money, so then they went on shopping where he met another person. Apparently, there are these houses in Hogwarts, and he's from Slytherin. And he was this rude person that was talking about how people in Hufflepuff are kind of dumb or something like that. And he was also criticizing Hagrid as well. And so, yeah, Harry just started defending him. And then they went on, and they started talking about Quidditch, which is a sport or a game that they play at Hogwarts. Okay, let's see. Okay, we were right here. So, do I have any volunteers that would like to read?
Me.
Sorry, who is that? Okay, Sarah. Okay, Sarah, you raise your hand first, and Michael, I'll let you read after, okay? So, Sarah, go ahead. Starting from outside the apothecary.
Outside the apothecaries, Hagrid checked Harry's list again. Just your one left. Oh yeah, and I still haven't got yet a birthday present. Harry felt himself go red. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. Tell ya what, I'll get your animal. Not a toad. Toads went out of fashion years ago. Yet they lost that. And I don't like cats. They make me sneeze. I get an owl. All the kids want owls. They're dead useful. Carrier post and anything. 20 minutes later, they left Elop's our emporium, which had been left dark and full of rustling and flickering gold-bright eyes. Harry now carried a large cage which held a beautiful snowy owl fast asleep with her head under her wing. He couldn't stop staring his things, sounding just like Professor Quirrell. Don't mention it, said Hagrid gruffly. Don't expect you got a lot of presents from some Dursleys. Just Ollivanders left now. Only place for ones. Ollivanders, and you gotta have the best one, the magic wand. This was what Harry had been really looking forward to. The last shop was narrow and shabby. Peeling gold letters over the door read, Ollivanders, makers of fine wands since 32 BC. A single wand laid on a faded purple cushion in a dusty window. A tinkling bell rang somewhere in the depths of the shop. As they stepped inside, of the teeny place empty except for a single spiny chair which Hagrid sat on to wait. Harry found Strangely, as though he had entered a very strict library. He swallowed a lot of new questions which had occurred him and looked instead at the thousands of narrow boxes piled neatly right up to the ceiling. For some reason, the back of his neck prickled. The very dust and silence in here seems to tingle with some secret magic. Good afternoon, said a small voice. Harry jumped. Hagrid must have jumped too, because there was a loud crunching noise, and he quickly got off the spiny chair. An old man was standing before them, his wide, pale eyes shining like moons through the gloom of the shop. Hello, said Harry awkwardly. Ah, yes, said the man. Yes, I thought I'll be seeing you soon, Harry Potter. It wasn't a question. You have your mother's eyes. It seems only yesterday she was in here herself, buying her first one. 10¼ inches long, swishy, made of willow. Nice one for charm work. Mr. Ollivander moved closer to him. Harry wished he would blink. Those silver eyes were a bit creepy. Your father, on the other hand, favored a mahogany one. 11 inches. Pillable. A little more power and excellent for trainer figure. Figure. Well, I say your father favored it. It's really the one that chooses the wizard, of course. Mr. Ollivander had come so close, he and Harry were almost nose to nose. Harry could see himself reflected in those misty eyes, and that's where Mr. Ollivander touched the lighting scar on Harry's forehead with a long white finger. I'm so sorry to say I saw the one that did it, he said softly. 13½ inches. You. Powerful one, very powerful, and in the wrong hands. Well, if I know what the one is going out to the world to do. He shook his head, and then, to Harry's relief, spotted Hagrid. Rubus, Hagrid, how nice to see you again. Oh, 16 inches, rather bendy, wasn't it? It was, sir, yes, said Hagrid. Go on, that one, but I suppose they stacked it in half when you got expelled, said Mr. Ollivander, slightly stern. Yes, they did, yes, said Hagrid, shuffling his feet. I still got the pieces, though, he added brightly. But you don't use them, said Mr. Ollivander sharply. Oh, no, sir, said Hagrid quickly. Harry noticed he gripped his pink umbrella very tightly as he spoke. Said Mr. Ollivander, giving Hagrid a piercing look. Well, now, Mr. Potter, let me see. He pulled a long tape measure with silver markings out of his pocket. What's your wand arm? Oh, well, I'm right-handed, said Harry. Hold out your arm, that's it. He measured Harry from shoulder to finger, then wrist to elbow, shoulder to floor, knee to armpit, and round his head. As he measured, he said, every Ollivander wand has a core of a powerful magical substance, Mr. Potter. We use unicorn hairs, phonics, tail feathers, and the heartstrings of dragons. Not two Ollivander wands are the same. Just as no two unicorns, dragons, or phonixes are quite the same. And of course, you'll never get such good results with another wizard's wand. Harry steadily released that tape measure, which was measuring between his nostrils, was doing this on its own. Mr. Ollivander was flitting around the shelves, taking down boxes. That will do, he said, and the tape measure crumpled into a heap on the floor. Right down, Mr. Potter. Try this one. Benchwood and dragon heartstring. 9 inches, nice and flexible. Just take it and give it away. Harry took the wand and, feeling foolish, waving around a bit. But Mr. Ollivander snatched it out of his hand almost at once. Maple and Phoenix feathers, 7 inches, quite whippy. Try? Harry tried, but he hardly raised the wand when it too was snatched back by Mr. Ollivander. Now here, ebony and unicorn hair, 8.5 inches, springy. Go on, try it out. Harry tried and tried. He had no idea what Mr. Ollivander was waiting for. The pile of pried hands was mounting higher and higher on the spiny chair. But the more wands Mr. Ollivander pulled from the shelf, the happier he seemed to become. Tricky customer, not to worry. We will find a perfect match here somewhere. I wonder. Yes, one unusual combination. Holly and Phoenix feather, 11 inches, nice and supple.
Okay, 1 second. Great job. We got through pretty far. Yeah, Michael, would you like to step up and read for us?
Where do I start?
Yeah, right here. Thank you, Sarah.
Harry took the wand. He felt a sudden warmth in his fingers. He raised the wand above his head, brought it swishing down through the dusty air, and stream of red and golden sparks shot from the end like a firework, throwing dancing spots of light onto the walls. Hagrid whooped and clapped, and Mr. Ollivander cried, "Oh, bravo! Yes, indeed. Oh, very good. Well. How curious. How very curious." He put Harry's wand back into its box and wrapped it in brown paper, still muttering, "Curious, curious." "Sorry," said Harry, "but what's curious?" Mr. Ollivander fixed Harry with his pale stare. "I remember every wand I ever sold, Mr. Potter, every single wand. It so happens that the phoenix whose tail feather is in your wand, give another feather, just one another. It is very curious indeed that you should be destined for this wand when its brother, why, its brother gave you that scar." Harry swallowed. "Yes, 13.5 inches. You. Curious indeed how these things happen. The wand chooses the wizard. Remember, I think we must expect great things from you, Mr. Potter. After all, he who must not be named did great things. Terrible, yes, but great." Harry shivered. He wasn't sure he liked Mr. Ollivander too much. He paid 7 gold galleons for his wand, and Mr. Ollivander bowed them from his shop. The late afternoon sun hung low in the sky as Harry and Hagrid made their way back down Diagon Alley, back through the wall back through the laky cauldron, now empty. Now empty. Harry didn't speak at all as they walked down the road. He didn't even notice how many people were gawking at them at the underground, laden as they were with all their funny shaped packages, with the snowy owl asleep in its cage on Harry's lap. Up another escalator out into the Paddington station. Harry only realized where they were when Hagrid
Sorry.
tapped him on the shoulder. Got time for a bite to eat before your train leaves, he said. He brought Harry a hamburger and they sat on plastic seats to eat them. Harry kept looking around. Everything looked so strange somehow. You all right, Harry? You're very quiet, said Hagrid. Harry wasn't sure he could explain. He just had the best birthday of his life, and yet he chewed his hamburger trying to find the words. Everyone thinks I'm special, he said at last, but all those people in the leaky cauldron, Professor Quirrell, Mr. Ollivander, but I don't know anything about magic at all. How can they expect great things? I'm famous, and I can't even remember what I'm famous for. I don't know what happened when, the night my parents died. Hagrid leaned across the table. Behind the wild beard and eyebrows he wore a very kind smile. Don't you worry, Harry. You'll learn fast enough. Everyone starts at the beginning at Hogwarts. You will be just fine. Just be yourself. I know it's hard. You have been singled out, and that's always hard. But yet, have a great time at Hogwarts. I did, still do. It's a matter of fact. Hagrid out Harry on the train that would take him back to the Dursleys, then handed him an envelope.
Oh, Michael, yeah, do you want to finish this chapter?
Okay. Your ticket for Hogwarts, he said. 1st of September, King's Cross. It's all on your ticket. Any problems with the Dursleys? Send me a letter with your owl. She'll know where to find me. See you soon, Harry. The train pulled out of the station. Harry wanted to watch Hagrid until he was out of sight. He rose in his seat and pressed his nose against the window, but he blinked and Hagrid had gone.
Okay, good job. Yeah, just to sum up this part, we see that afterwards, I think, yeah, they spent a long time getting the wand, which is honestly, it's like a special moment. So, and it turns out that today was actually Harry's birthday, and he got to have like so many things, and you can see like Hagrid being so nice to him. He bought like so many things, like hamburger, ice cream, so much stuff. And you can also see that apparently Harry is special, because you can see, especially here, that like Mr. Ollivander took a very, very long time to find one that actually fit Harry. So that might mean something. Let's see. Okay. So what do you guys think of the book so far? Oh, how about this? Who is your favorite character? Does anyone want to share?
Hagrid,
Hagrid? You like Hagrid? Is there a reason why?
because he helps Harry so he could do more things.
Yeah, Hagrid is, yeah, like you said, he's really nice. He's willing to help Harry. Yeah, Sarah?
Harry Potter because he's such a nice friend to Hagrid.
He is, right? So if we go back, oh, I'm not sure if I can find the page, but we have that one person from Slytherin. Uh, that wasn't the nicest person, and when he kind of was being mean to Hagrid, you can see that Harry is willing to stand up and defend Hagrid because of their friendship, and that is something that is very admirable. And um, okay, you guys saw that the person from Slytherin was talking about houses, and Harry especially. Harry asked Hagrid, like, "I'm probably going to be in Hufflepuff, right? So, what do you guys think? Do you think Harry is actually going to end up in Hufflepuff, or maybe Slytherin, or another house, if that's the case?" Does anyone have a guess? What house might Harry be in? I think, at least for me, I think he would be in another house completely because, Slytherin, he doesn't seem, because they said, or Hagrid said, everyone who's in Slytherin turned bad, which probably means that they became evil. And well, there's a lot of um, criticism towards Hufflepuff. And because of how Harry is he's so special, maybe he just might be in another house. Yeah, Michael?
Why don't you leave now because I have another class? Bye.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Okay. Um, I guess I'll continue reading for a few more minutes. Yeah. Okay. Chapter 6, The Journey from Platform 9 3/4. Harry's last month with the Dursleys wasn't fun. True. Dudley was now so scared of Harry he wouldn't stay in the same room, while Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon didn't shut Harry in his cupboard, forcing him to do anything or shout at him. In fact, they didn't speak to him at all. Half terrified, half furious, they acted as though any chair with Harry in it were empty. Although this was an improvement in many ways, it did become a bit depressing after a while. Harry kept to his room with his new owl for company. He had decided to call her Hedwig, the name he had found in a history of magic. His school books were very interesting. He lay on his bed reading late into the night, Hedwig swooping in and out of the open window as she pleased. It was lucky that Aunt Petunia didn't come in to vacuum anymore, because Hedwig kept bringing back dead mice. Every night before he went to sleep, Harry ticked off another day on the piece of paper he had pinned to the wall, counting down to September the 1st. On the last day of August, he thought he'd better speak to his aunt and uncle about getting to King's Cross Station the next day. So he went down to the living room where they were watching a quiz show on television. He cleared his throat to let them know he was there, and Dudley screamed and ran off from the room. Or ran from the room. Our Uncle Vernon? Uncle Vernon grunted to show he was listening. I need to be at King's Cross tomorrow to go to Hogwarts. Uncle Vernon grunted again. Would it be all right if you gave me a lift? Grunt. Harry supposed that meant yes. Thank you. He was about to go back upstairs when Uncle Vernon actually spoke. Funny way to get to a wizard's school, the train. Magic carpets all got punctures, have they? Harry didn't say anything. Where's the school anyway? I don't know, said Harry, realizing this for the first time. He pulled the ticket Hagrid had given out of his pocket. I just take the train from platform 9 3/4 at 11 o'clock, he read. His aunt and uncle stared. Platform what? 9 3/4. Don't talk rubbish, said Uncle Vernon. There's no platform 9 3/4. It's on my ticket. Barking, said Uncle Vernon. Howling mad, the lot of them. You'll see. You just wait. All right, we'll take you to King's Cross. We're going to London tomorrow anyway, or I wouldn't bother. Why are you going to London? Harry asked, trying to keep things friendly. Taking Dudley to the hospital, growled Uncle Vernon. Got to have that ruddy tail removed before he goes to Smeltings. Harry woke at 5 o'clock the next morning and was too excited and nervous to go back to sleep. He got up and pulled on his jeans because he didn't want to walk into the station in his wizard's robes. He'd change on the train. He checked his Hogwarts list yet again to make sure he had everything he needed. Saw that Hedwig was shut safely in her cage, then paced the room, waiting for the Dursleys to get up. 2 hours later, Harry's huge heavy trunk had been loaded into the Dursleys' car. Aunt Petunia had talked Dudley into sitting next to Harry. They had set off. They reached King's Cross at 10:30. Uncle Vernon dumped Harry's trunk onto a cart and wheeled it to the station for him. Harry thought this was strangely kind until Vernon stopped dead, facing the platforms with a nasty grin on his face. Well, there you are, boy. Platform 9, platform 10. Your platform should be somewhere in the middle, but they don't seem to have built it in yet, do they? He was quite right, of course. There was a big plastic number 9 over the platform and a big plastic number 10 over to the one next to it. And in the middle, nothing at all. Have a good term, said Uncle Vernon with an even nastier smile. He left without another word. Harry turned and saw the Dursleys drive away. All three of them were laughing. Harry's mouth went rather dry. What on earth was he going to do? He was starting to attract a lot of funny looks because of Hedwig. He'd have to ask someone. He stopped a passing guard, but didn't dare mention 9 3/4. The guard had never heard of Hogwarts, and when Harry couldn't even tell him what part of the country it was in, he started to get annoyed, as though Harry was being stupid on purpose. Getting desperate, Harry asked for the train that left at 11 o'clock, but the guard said there wasn't one. In the end, the guard strode away, muttering about time wasters. Harry was now trying hard not to panic. According to the large clock over the arrivals board, he had 10 minutes left to get on the train to Hogwarts, and he had no idea how to do it. He was stranded in the middle of a station with a trunk he could hardly lift, a pocket full of wizard money, and a large owl. Hagrid must have forgotten to tell him something he had to do, like tapping the third brick on the left to get into the Diagon Alley. He wondered if he should get out his wand and start tapping the ticket inspector's stand between platforms 9 and 10. At that moment, a group of people passed just behind him, and he caught a few words of what they were saying. Packed with muggles, of course. Harry swung around. The speaker was a plump woman who was talking to 4 boys, all with flaming red hair. Each of them was pushing a trunk like Harry's in front of him, and they had an owl.